He was the strongest man who ever lived, chosen by God before he was even born. But one woman's smile would lead him to chains, blindness, and the most painful betrayal of his life. Just when it seemed like everything was lost, something unexpected began to grow again. This is the shocking story of Samson, and how his final moment became his greatest victory. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our powerful Bible stories. A long time ago, the people of Israel were very sad. They were living in fear, because their enemies, the Philistines, were very strong and mean. The Philistines didn't love God. They hurt the Israelites, stole their food, and made them feel small and weak. But do you know what happened? God saw everything. He saw the pain in his people's hearts. And even though they had made many bad choices, God still loved them. He had a secret plan to save them. A very big plan. And it all started with a baby. Far away, in a quiet town, lived a man named Manoah and his wife. They were kind and good, but they were also very sad. Because they had no children. Day after day, they prayed. "Oh God," they whispered, "please give us a child." Then one day, something amazing happened. Manoah's wife was alone in the field when suddenly a bright light shined. A man, glowing like an angel, stood before her. She had never seen anything so powerful, yet peaceful. She was afraid, but the man smiled. "Don't be afraid," the angel said. "You will have a baby boy. But this boy will be very special. He belongs to God. From the moment he is born, you must never cut his hair. He will grow up strong, and he will begin to save Israel from the Philistines." The woman's eyes grew wide. Her heart pounded with excitement. "A baby? A child from God," she gasped. She ran to her husband, her feet flying through the grass. "Manoah, a man of God came to me. He said we will have a son." Manoah listened, amazed. He looked up at the sky and prayed, "Please, Lord, let the man come again and teach us what to do." And guess what? God answered. One day later, while Manoah's wife was in the field again, the angel returned. She ran to get Manoah, and he came running too. They bowed down before the man. "Tell us," Manoah said, "how should we raise the boy?" The angel's voice was calm and strong. "The woman must eat only clean food. She must not drink wine or touch anything unclean. And remember, never cut the boy's hair. He will be set apart for God." Manoah wanted to be kind. "Stay with us," he said. "Let us make you a meal." But the angel said, "I will not eat. But if you make an offering to the Lord, that is good." So Manoah built a small altar with stones. He put a goat on the fire as an offering to God. And then something incredible happened. As the flames rose into the sky, the angel stepped into the fire and flew up in the smoke, rising higher and higher into the sky until he disappeared into the clouds. Manoah and his wife fell face down on the ground. "We have seen a heavenly messenger," they cried. "We saw the angel of the Lord." But God was kind. He did not harm them. Instead, he kept his promise. And then, one morning, a tiny cry filled the air. The baby was born. They named him Samson. As he grew up, something special happened. The Spirit of the Lord began to move in him. Samson wasn't just any boy. He ran faster than others. He was stronger than others. He could lift heavy things that even grown men couldn't carry. But it wasn't just his muscles. It was God's power inside him. God had a big purpose for Samson. And there was one very important thing about him. His hair was never cut. Each long strand was a sign. A promise. A secret between God and Samson. As long as his hair stayed long, God's strength would stay with him. No one knew yet, but one day this boy would grow up to fight thousands of enemies. He would do things no one had ever seen before. And his story was only just beginning. Samson was no longer a little boy. He had become a man, tall, strong, and full of power. His hair flowed long down his back, and the Spirit of God still moved in him. One day, Samson went down to a town called Timnah. As he walked through the streets, he saw a young woman. She was beautiful. She was a Philistine. He came home and said to his parents, "I saw a woman in Timnah. I want to marry her." His parents were shocked. "But she's a Philistine. She doesn't worship the Lord. Can't you find a wife among your own people?" But Samson said, "She is the one. Get her for me." His parents didn't know it, but God was working behind the scenes. God would use this moment to begin fighting the Philistines. So they went to Timnah with Samson to meet the woman. On the way there, something frightening happened. Samson walked through a vineyard alone, and then, roar! A young lion came charging at him. Its eyes were wild. Its mouth was full of teeth. Samson didn't have a sword. He didn't have a spear. But suddenly God's Spirit rushed into him. His muscles tightened. His hands became strong like iron. And with his bare hands, Samson grabbed the lion and tore it apart like it was a little goat. He stood there, breathing hard, looking down at the lion's body. He didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not even his parents. Time passed. Later, when Samson came back that way, he saw something strange. The lion's body was still lying there. But inside the bones of the lion, a swarm of bees had made a home. There was honey. Samson reached in, scooped up some honey and ate it. He even gave some to his parents, but he didn't tell them where it came from. Finally, the wedding day came. Samson threw a feast, just like young men did in those days. 30 Philistine men came to be his companions. They laughed, told stories, and clapped their hands. But Samson had a plan. He said, "I have a riddle. If you can solve it in 7 days, I'll give you 30 pieces of fine clothing. But if you can't, you must give me 30. They agreed. "Tell us the riddle." And Samson said, "Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet." The men were confused. What could that mean? Day after day they guessed, but nothing worked. By the 4th day, the Philistines were angry. They went to Samson's new wife and shouted, "Get the answer from him, or we will burn you and your father's house." So the woman began to cry. She begged Samson, "You don't really love me. You won't even tell me your riddle." She cried every day. And on the 7th day, Samson finally gave in. He told her. And she ran and told the men. Before sunset, the Philistines came to Samson and said, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson's face grew dark. He knew they had tricked him. "If you hadn't plowed with my cow," he growled, "you wouldn't have solved my riddle." Samson was furious. But he didn't scream. He didn't fight right there. Instead, God's Spirit came on him again. He went to another town, struck down 30 Philistines, took their clothes, and gave them to the men who had solved the riddle. Then he went back to his father's house. He was angry. He felt betrayed. While he was gone, the Philistines gave his wife to another man, one of his companions. Later, Samson came back with a gift for his wife, a young goat. But her father said, "I thought you hated her. So I gave her to someone else. You can have her younger sister instead." Samson clenched his fists. This time, he said, "I won't stop." Then he did something no one had ever done before. He went out and caught 300 foxes. Yes, 300. He tied them in pairs by the tails. Then he tied a burning torch between each pair. And he let them go, running wild through the Philistines' fields. The fire burned their wheat, their vineyards, and their olive trees. The Philistines were shocked. "Who did this?" "Samson," someone cried. "Because we gave his wife away." So the Philistines did something awful. They burned Samson's wife and her father with fire. Now Samson was even more angry. He shouted, "I will pay you back for this." He attacked them with great force and left many of them lying in the dust. Afterward, he went and hid in a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines came looking for him. They marched into Judah with a large army. The men of Judah asked, "Why are you attacking us?" "We're here to capture Samson," they said. So 3,000 men from Judah went to Samson and said, "Why are you making trouble with the Philistines? Don't you know they rule over us?" But Samson said, "I only did to them what they did to me." They said, "We've come to tie you up and hand you over." "Promise you won't kill me yourselves," Samson said. They agreed. They tied him with new ropes and brought him to the Philistines. The Philistines saw him and shouted, "There he is, the strong man." But then God's Spirit rushed into Samson once again. The ropes on his arms snapped like pieces of burned thread. He looked around and found a fresh donkey's jawbone lying on the ground. He picked it up and defeated 1,000 men. When the battle was over, Samson dropped the jawbone and called the place Ramath-Lehi, which means Jawbone Hill. But Samson was very tired. He was thirsty. He cried out to God, "You gave me this victory, but now I'll die of thirst?" God heard him. Suddenly, water came out of the ground, and Samson drank and was filled with strength again. And so, the secret of his strength continued. His hair stayed long. His power stayed strong. And his enemies? They were still afraid. But the story of Samson was not over yet. A new danger was coming. A danger with a smile. Samson was now the most feared man in the land. Everyone knew his name. Everyone knew his strength. But no one, not even the Philistines, knew his secret. It wasn't just his muscles. It wasn't just his fists. It was his hair. As long as his hair stayed long, God's power stayed with him. One day, Samson went to a city called Gaza. The Philistines lived there too. They hated Samson. They wanted him dead. But Samson didn't care. That night, he went into the city and lay down to sleep. But word spread fast. "Samson is here," the people whispered. So the Philistines made a plan. "Lock the gates," they said. "In the morning, when he tries to leave, we'll catch him." But Samson didn't wait for morning. In the middle of the night, while it was still dark, Samson woke up. He walked to the city gate and saw it was shut tight. Did he panic? He grabbed the huge wooden doors with his bare hands, ripped them out of the ground and carried them up a mountain. The Philistines watched from far away, their mouths wide open. They couldn't stop him. They couldn't beat him. They needed a new plan. And then came a woman named Delilah. Delilah lived in the valley of Sorek. She had a sweet voice, a pretty face, and a smile that could hide a snake. Samson saw her, and he fell in love. Delilah smiled back. But in her heart, she did not love Samson. She loved money. So when the rulers of the Philistines came to her, they offered her a deal. "Find out the secret of Samson's strength," they whispered. "Find out how to make him weak, so we can catch him. If you do, we'll each give you lots and lots of silver." Delilah's eyes sparkled. She nodded slowly. That night, when Samson came to her house, Delilah curled up beside him and said in a soft voice, "Samson, tell me, what makes you so strong? How could someone tie you up and make you weak?" Samson smiled. He didn't trust her. But he played along. "If someone ties me with 7 fresh ropes that have never been dried," he said, "I'll become as weak as any man." Delilah waited until he was fast asleep. Then she quietly called the Philistines. They brought her the ropes. She tied Samson up tight. Then she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are here." Samson woke up, snapped the ropes like threads, and stood tall. His strength had not left him. Delilah's face fell. "You lied to me," she said, pouting. You don't love me. Tell me the real way." The next night, Samson said, "Fine. If someone ties me with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become weak." Again, Delilah tied him up while he slept. Again she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are here." Again, Samson woke up, broke the ropes like they were nothing, and stood strong. Delilah crossed her arms. "You're just making fun of me," she said. "Tell me the truth." Samson said, "If you weave the 7 braids of my hair into a loom and tighten it with a pin, I'll be weak." So while he slept, Delilah did exactly that. "Samson, the Philistines are here." Samson jumped up, pulling the loom and pin right out with his hair. He was still strong. Delilah was furious. "How can you say you love me when you won't tell me your secret?" she cried. Day after day, she nagged him. She begged. She cried. And finally, Samson was tired. His heart felt crushed. So he told her. He told her everything. He whispered, "I have never cut my hair. From the day I was born, I was set apart for God. If my hair is cut, I will lose my strength." Delilah's eyes gleamed. She knew he had told her the truth. That night, she let Samson fall asleep in her lap. She called a man to come and quietly cut off his 7 long braids. Snip, snip, snip. One by one, the locks of hair fell to the floor. And with each strand, God's power left him. Then Delilah shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are here." Samson woke up and said, "I'll go out like before." But he didn't know. The Lord had left him. The Philistines rushed in. This time, Samson couldn't fight back. His arms were weak. His legs had no strength. They tied him tightly. Then they did something cruel. They poked out his eyes. Now Samson, the strong man, was blind. Broken. They took him far away to a prison in Gaza. They made him grind grain like an animal. Day after day, he walked in circles, blind and alone. But while the Philistines laughed and celebrated, something quiet was happening. Samson's hair began to grow again. The story wasn't over yet. Samson was blind now. His eyes were gone. The man who once tore lions and lifted city gates now walked in darkness. Every day he worked like a slave, grinding grain, pushing a heavy stone around and around. He couldn't see the light anymore. But something was happening inside him, something no one else could see. His hair was growing. And deep in his heart, Samson was changing. He had made mistakes. He had trusted the wrong people. He had walked away from God's voice. But now, as he pushed the stone in the prison, Samson began to whisper. He whispered prayers. He remembered the God of his youth. He remembered the angel's words to his mother. He remembered who he truly was. And God was listening. Far away, the Philistine leaders were planning a big party. They were going to celebrate. "Let's praise our God Dagon," they said. "He gave us victory over Samson." So they gathered in their biggest temple. It was huge. There were thousands of people, 3,000 just on the roof. Inside, there were rulers, princes, and all the important people of the land. They were eating, drinking, and laughing. And then someone shouted, "Bring out Samson. Let him entertain us." The guards ran to the prison. They grabbed Samson and led him out. The crowd laughed when they saw him. "Look at the mighty warrior now," they shouted. "He can't even walk by himself." Samson didn't say a word. A little boy held his hand and led him to the center of the temple. Samson whispered to the boy, "Put my hands on the pillars, the big ones. I want to rest against them." The boy did. Samson placed one hand on the pillar to his right, and one on the pillar to his left. He could feel the stone. He could feel the weight of the whole building. The music played. The crowd laughed louder. But in the middle of the noise, Samson prayed. It was not a long prayer. It was a broken prayer. It came from deep in his heart. Lord God, remember me one more time. Please strengthen me just once more, so I can take revenge on the Philistines for my eyes. He took a deep breath. Then Samson shouted, "Let me die with the Philistines." With all the power left in him, Samson pushed. He pushed with everything he had. The pillars began to shake. Crack. The stone rumbled. The floor trembled. The walls shook. People screamed. And then, boom! The entire temple collapsed. Rocks crashed down from above. Dust filled the air. The roof split apart. And all the Philistine rulers and everyone inside the temple were crushed beneath the stones. That day, Samson killed more people in his death than he had in his whole life. Everything went quiet. Later, Samson's brothers and family came and found his body among the rubble. They gently picked him up and took him home. They buried him in his father's tomb. And the people remembered him. He had been chosen before he was born. He had been strong. He had fallen. But in the end he remembered God. And God remembered him. Samson judged Israel for 20 years. And though his eyes had been taken, he saw clearly in the end. His story shows us, God gives second chances. Even when we fail, even when we fall, God still hears the cries of a broken heart. And when His Spirit moves again, great things can happen. Just like they did with Samson. Samson fell, but God never let him stay down. In his final breath, he found strength, purpose, and redemption. No matter how far we fall, God can still use us for something great. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and also share this video with someone you love and care about, because more life-changing Bible stories are coming your way.